I always knew Grandpa's house was special. It wasn't just an old structure with creaky floors and vintage wallpaper. It was a place filled with childhood memories, laughter, and warmth. Every summer, I would spend time there, listening to Grandpa's stories, running through the vast backyard, and falling asleep to the comforting hum of the porch swing. When he passed away, it felt like losing a piece of myself. But in his will, he left me the house. I was shocked but deeply honored. It was the one place in the world where I had always felt truly at home, and now it was officially mine. Or so I thought. My family wasn't happy about it. They expected the house to be divided or sold so the money could be shared. My parents, my uncle, and even my cousins, who barely visited Grandpa, believed it was unfair that he had left the house to me alone. At first, they pretended to be supportive. "It's what Grandpa wanted," they said. But their smiles were thin, their voices laced with something I couldn't quite place. I didn't see it coming. One day, I went to check on the house, only to find a sold sign staked into the front yard. My stomach dropped. Confused, I rushed to the door, but my key no longer worked. A neighbor saw me and walked over hesitantly. "I thought you knew," she said. "Your family sold the house last week." I felt the ground shift beneath me. How? Why? I had legal ownership. Frantically, I called my mother. She sighed as if I were being dramatic. "It was for the best," she said. "We found a buyer willing to pay good money. You don't need that old place." I couldn't breathe. "You had no right. You weren't doing anything with it," she shot back. "You can't afford to maintain a big house like that. We did you a favor." A favor. They stole my home, my memories, and sold it like it was just another piece of property. I later discovered they had found a loophole, something about shared inheritance rights since Grandpa hadn't updated the deed properly. I fought. I hired a lawyer. I tried everything. But by the time I had a case, the sale had gone through. The house was gone. For months, I was consumed by anger and grief. I felt betrayed in a way that words couldn't fully describe. My own family had taken from me the one thing that truly mattered. But then, something changed. I realized that Grandpa's house wasn't just a place, it was in the memories, the lessons he taught me, the love he had given me. And that was something they could never take away. I decided to move forward. I took the money they had given me, hush money, really, and used it to build something of my own. A new home, a new future. Something that was mine, truly mine. And in that, I honored Grandpa's legacy in the best way I could. After learning the truth about the sale, I felt a rage I had never known before. I wasn't just hurt, I was determined to fight for what was right. I spent weeks consulting legal experts, trying to find a way to reclaim what was stolen from me. The lawyer I hired specialized in estate law, and after reviewing the documents, he confirmed what I had suspected. My family had manipulated the situation in their favor, using a loophole to claim shared ownership and push through the sale. I filed a lawsuit against them, even knowing it would destroy whatever thin connection remained between us. The court proceedings were grueling. My own parents and uncle sat across from me, painting me as an ungrateful, selfish person who only wanted to cause problems. They used every excuse in the book. She couldn't afford to maintain the property, she was too emotionally attached. It was a financial decision that benefited everyone. But I had evidence. Grandpa's will was clear, he had wanted me to have the house. The only reason they were able to go around it was because of technicalities he hadn't been aware of. It was a devastating realization. Grandpa had trusted them to do the right thing, and they had betrayed that trust. The judge ruled in their favor. The sale was finalized, and there was nothing I could do to undo it. My only consolation was that they had to pay me a portion of the sale profits, but that didn't bring me any peace. The betrayal cut deep. I went no contact with my family for months, unable to even think about them without feeling sick. With no house and no family to rely on, I had to start over. The money I received from the sale wasn't much, but it was enough to make a new plan. Instead of sinking into bitterness, I decided to turn my loss into something meaningful. I used the funds to put a down payment on a small house of my own, not the same as Grandpa's, but a place where I could build new memories. As I worked on my home, I thought about Grandpa a lot. He had always been resourceful, always found ways to make the best out of difficult situations. If he were alive, he would have told me that a house is just walls and a roof, what matters is the love inside it. So I filled my new home with love. I decorated it with things that reminded me of Grandpa, from old photographs to little trinkets he had given me over the years. I planted a garden in the backyard, just like the one he had. I even built a porch swing, just like the one I had fallen asleep on as a child. Years passed, and the pain of what my family had done began to fade. I built a life that didn't revolve around their approval or their betrayal. I made new friends, found success in my career, and eventually met someone who truly cared about me. One day, I drove past Grandpa's old house. It looked different. The new owners had painted it a different color, remodeled parts of it. For a moment, I felt a pang of sadness. But then, I smiled. Because I realized something important. Home wasn't a building. It wasn't a single place. It was the love, the memories, the warmth that I carried with me, wherever I went. And that was something my family could never take away.